Hey there, my name's John. I'm a 35-year-old married man to a beautiful soul named Kylie. But unfortunately, I can't really say the same for her mother, Alice. Alice is the type of mother-in-law who's always in your business. She doesn't allow room for debate and discussion. It's her way or the highway. And that's how she's always liked it. So when she met someone like me who can see right through people like that and call them out on it, it's needless to say that she and I didn't really get along as we should have as mother-in-law and sister-in-law. She was always poking and prodding into Kylie and my business as a married couple. And it always got on my nerves. That is, until one day when all of this finally came to a stop, and she was sufficiently embarrassed and stopped being such a nosy family member. I always knew that my mother-in-law, Alice, had a problem with our marriage. She made it very clear that that was what she believed in. She meddled in our affairs and constantly gave unsolicited advice. She even went as far as to micromanage our finances. This one time she told us that if we had any problems with each other, Kylie and I, we shouldn't tell the other person. Rather, we should deal with it on our own and let fate decide what happens. Kylie would be complacent to keep the peace. I could understand, considering that she lived with that lady all her life. She must have gotten tired of trying to fight her mother's antics, even though she vehemently disagreed with her statements. I, on the other hand, as was mentioned previously, would be a bit more daring and challenging with the terrible advice she would give us. But won't that lead to more fighting and us eventually getting a divorce? No, dear, as long as you have faith that everything will work out, then there's no point in bringing up those bitter feelings. But you must listen to me, John. That's the problem with you kids these days. You think that you can talk back so freely when an older person is giving you some wise advice. I'm telling you the truth, for free even. So trust me. Another example of the bad advice she'd give us was when she said that sticking to traditional gender norms in our marriage is a surefire way to long-lasting and happy marriage. In this day and age, I'm sure you can guess how that conversation went. I hear what you're saying, Alice, but I don't think that works for this family. What do you mean, dear? Well, both Kylie and I cook and clean. I don't just leave her to do it. Since she also has a job like me, we simply have to divide the household duties accordingly. It works for us this way. Women are stronger than you think, boy. She can handle the extra workload. As a matter of fact, it's not even an extra workload because that's what she was designed to do. Excuse me? Yes, listen to what I'm saying, trust me. This isn't coming from nowhere. You kids and your liberation and wanting equality for everything is what's turning this whole country upside down. Kylie, you need to resume your role as a proper housewife. And John, you need to work harder so that you can support her fully. It's not that easy, Mom. And besides, we like this arrangement. You don't like anything. Trust me, once you try it for yourself, you'll see how beneficial it is. We appreciate the advice, Alice, but trust us. When we say we're fine with this arrangement, it helps us bond more when we're cooking and cleaning together, actually. What a peculiar thing to say. Obviously, you've been brainwashed into believing that this is the way to go. But I'm telling you, you need to adopt traditional gender roles. This is how our conversations would normally go. Sometimes I would just agree with everything that she would say so that she would shut up faster. I swear this lady just liked the sound of her voice. She just enjoyed hearing what she had to say, even if it was the worst advice ever. Kylie kept telling me to ignore her, but I was just about fed up with her antics, and it seemed like the more we agreed, the more she'd give us her unsolicited advice. There was just no end to this woman. And that was when I said, enough is enough. This behavior had to stop immediately. I first confronted Kylie about it because I needed her to be on board with my plan. Your mom is out of control, Kylie. Yeah, I agree, but she's just trying to help us. Help us? Or control us? Oh, John, don't be so dramatic. Me being dramatic? Let's see. When we first got married, she talked about how we should set out our home. She rearranged all the furniture and the cutlery, and you know how hard we worked on that? We loved that arrangement, but of course, because it didn't suit your mother's needs, it was automatically wrong. On our first anniversary as a married couple, she called us and practically berated us for 4 hours straight about how we need to be better connected to each other. What did that even mean? She was so vague about everything. I know, she can be a bit much sometimes. That's not even including the endless amounts of time she shows up here, uninvited and unexpected, demanding that we do better as a married couple and follow in her footsteps. It would be better if she was giving solid advice, but her values are so outdated and they're even kind of harmful. I know that's your mom, but you have to agree with me when I say that this is getting out of control. You're right, babe, you're right. Okay, so what are we going to do about this? What did you have in mind? Just then, we heard the doorbell ring. I was praying and hoping with all my might that it wouldn't be her. But alas, those prayers unfortunately weren't answered. Hello, my beautiful son. Hey, come in, come in. How are you two doing? Did you try that new couples practice I was telling you about? Practice? Oh, you silly goose. The practice of detaching from your partner. I sent you the ebook all about it. You shouldn't forget about what I tell you. That's why your marriage is falling apart. But it isn't. Yeah, that's what they all say. Until it falls apart. That's why you have to listen to me. I give out the best marriage advice, you know. It's always great. Right. Anyways, what brings you to visit? Can't a loving mother just visit her kids? I just wanted to come. Perhaps we can make some tea and I can impart some more of my wisdom to you two. Oh boy, here we go again. This was a common trend with Alice. She just felt like she knew absolutely everything. I pulled Kylie to the side and I told her my plan. You're right, babe. What are you going to do? Don't worry about it. Why don't you invite her to stay for dinner? She was probably going to stay long enough anyways, and I'll be on the phone with a special guest, making arrangements for tonight. But Kylie? Yeah? Don't tell your mom about the extra guest. This needs to be a surprise for her. Aye, aye, Captain. Kylie proceeded to do the needful entertaining and distracting her mom from asking too many questions about my disappearance. I went to go and call a good friend of mine, Daria. Hey, John. Hope you're good. I'm good, Daria. Listen, I have a favor to ask you. Do you think you could come over tonight for dinner? Favor? I'd be more than happy to come over for a lovely meal. That's not a favor at all. Don't think this is all just for fun. I need your skills. Oh, has your mother-in-law finally pushed all of your buttons? You can say that, yeah. Didn't you say that this would happen in the upcoming weeks? I wasn't expecting this to happen so soon. Me neither, Dee. She just made one of her spontaneous visits, but this needs to stop. This ends tonight. So what do you say? You can count on me. I'll be there. Don't you worry. We'll put her in her place. Some hours went by, and it was time for dinner. We were all settling down at the dinner table with the succulent food steaming before our eyes, and even Alice couldn't appreciate all the work that Kylie and I did to prepare this. She was still rambling and obsessing over our marriage. And you need to be able to do things for each other. For example, Kylie, since John is your husband, even if he's leading you astray, it is not your position as the wife to correct him. Rather, you should gently nudge him in the right direction. What? Yes, what I'm saying is true. So even if I'm leading her down the wrong path, she shouldn't tell me anything. Precisely. I'm sorry, but that has got to be one of the worst pieces of marriage advice I've ever heard. Excuse me? Just then, we heard the doorbell go off for the second time today, but this time, this was expected. My savior, my good omen. Who might that be at this hour? Mom, we've invited a very special guest to come over for dinner. Oh, who? It's a marriage counselor. As I was getting up to answer the door, Alice had a quick look of panic on her face. She started rambling about how marriage counselors are so expensive, and for no reason. These marriage counselors are frauds and scammers. Why charge people for advice that should be free? Well, Mom, it's an important business. I don't think you should say that, especially with our guest who's about to get in here any second now. Oh, they know that they're wrong, scamming people like that. I do a way better job than the highest paid marriage counselor. I simply couldn't wait for her to eat her words. I invited Daria inside the home and she greeted everyone politely. All was reciprocated except, of course, for Alice. She looked quite uneasy seeing this stranger here, and she made her confusion and apprehension well apparent. Who is this? I don't know you, dear. Hello, Mom. My name is Daria, and I'm a marriage counselor. Forgive me if this sounds rude, but what are you doing here, dear? Well, Alice, Daria is here to help Kylie and me with our marriage. What for? I already give you sound advice. Well, we just thought it would be best to hear it from a professional. Since we appear to be getting everything wrong, according to your standards, it doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. Oh, you don't get everything wrong. I think you two are perfectly fine, so there's no need to... Well, I'm already here, and I'm already ready to share my advice. Feeling defeated, Alice subsided sulkily, and we began to enjoy our dinner. I made it known that I was going to ask questions specifically in regards to what Alice would advise Kylie and me on, but I didn't expose who was giving us this advice just yet. I wanted Alice to sweat a little. So, Daria, we've been hearing that to improve upon our marriage, a lack of communication is the way to go. Who gave you such stupid advice? That's the opposite of what needs to happen. Well, this person informed us that even if I'm leading Kylie astray, Kylie shouldn't inform me about it and she should just gently nudge me in the right direction. That's a problem. You shouldn't do that at all. Communication is key. You two are partners, right? So you have to talk about everything. Oh, well, that's interesting. Kylie and I were already doing that, right, Kylie? Yep, we do that all the time. Oh, then great. Don't change it one bit. At this point, Alice's face went pale. I'm guessing she was shocked that I would jump straight into it like that, but I wasn't done relaying some of the advice she had shared with us to Daria, and we had a ways to go. Daria, is it true that as a married couple, Kylie and I should never talk to each other about our problems? What? That's absurd. Where are you getting all of this awful advice from? Well, this person claims to be a professional. Professional in what? Lying? Scamming? Alice choked on some of the food she was eating. We all turned to her and we were met with an even paler face, one full of shame. But after making sure she was okay, we proceeded with the conversation. Well, they claim to know a lot about a long-lasting marriage, so... No, they're wrong. This is the same communication thing that I was talking about. Then it's a good thing that we already do that. Did you want to say something? No. All right then. Oh, Daria, another question to ask you. Is it true that if we stick to traditional gender norms, our marriage will last forever? Well, each couple is different. And so if the couple decides that they wish to do so and they're both respecting the boundaries they set up in regards to those traditional roles, then so be it. But not every couple can act this way. Some people prefer to switch the gender roles or do things 50-50. Wow, that's very interesting actually, because we were told by a certain someone that the same professional who's giving you bad advice, the very one. Anyways, she said that if everyone stuck to this practice, then our marriage will always be happy and content. No marriage is always happy and content. Sometimes there are some bumps in the road, so to expect that is quite harmful. Who is this person who speaks so confidently about being incorrect? It's quite sad and pathetic. I didn't want to expose Alice just yet. I wanted to ask just one more final question. Well, I think you should know that this person has also said that marriage counselors aren't needed in marriages, and that it's just a scheme to take people's money. I never said that. We all paused and turned to Alice. We were shocked, and it appeared as though she shocked herself too, as she quickly covered her mouth. I didn't have to do anything. She exposed herself. Did you say those things about marriage counselors? I just said that I didn't get why people would do that type of job. It's a bit odd to me. But you said that they were expensive for no reason. Well... And you also said that you can do a way better job than the highest paid marriage counselor. Well, if you believe you can do it, why don't you? Pardon? If my job is so easy, why not do it for yourself? I couldn't possibly. No, you're right. You couldn't possibly handle it. By the way, I know it was you who was giving John and Kylie this awful advice. I was just playing along with the shtick. But don't get me wrong, though. I meant every word I said about you being pathetic and sad. How dare you? Kylie, how can you let her speak to me that way? If I'm being honest, Mom, I think you needed to hear that. What? It's you, John. This is all your fault. You've poisoned the mind of my sweet, innocent daughter. Nope, you're wrong again. Your daughter has a mind of her own, something that you seem to forget about daily. She's a grown adult who can make her own decisions. And I mean it when I say that you needed to hear that, Mom. You don't know absolutely everything, Mom. That's a fact. And that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers. But giving us this advice all day long, especially since it's so unsolicited, is quite disrespectful of our marriage. But... You need to learn how to shut your yap sometimes and let people, especially the professionals, handle what they're supposed to handle. If we wanted your advice, we would have asked you for it. You don't have to always tell us every single thought that's on your mind. You come off as trying to pontificate, and nobody likes that. Alice was sufficiently embarrassed, I think it was safe to say. She was stumbling all over her words, and she was huffing and puffing, trying to make excuses for herself, but failing dismally. Oftentimes, the people who have nothing going for themselves will be the ones pontificating and preaching about how other people should live. You can't keep dishing out terrible advice and ideologies towards people. It's simply not right. Perhaps you should check the way you speak to people as well as your level of self-love and worth, because it looks pretty low from where I'm sitting, ma'am. For once in my life, I saw Alice completely and utterly defeated. She had no more arguments, no more rebuttals. She was just pale and quiet. After a moment of awkward silence, she got up from the table and said, "Thank you for the dinner. I think it's time for me to go." Kylie and I tried to get her to stay, but she was adamant, claiming that her cats must be missing her, and so she had to check on them. We all obviously knew the truth, that she was too embarrassed to stay any longer, but we decided to let it slide and let her go. Do you think we were too harsh? Oh, please, with the years of unsolicited advice she would give us, I'd say we weren't harsh enough. Let her cool off. She's just mortified for now, but she'll come around and hopefully she'll change. It was a couple of days after that dinner debacle, and I received a call from none other than Alice herself. "Hello, my dear." "Hey, how are you?" "Honestly, I'm still embarrassed from that dinner a couple of nights ago. Listen, I've been doing a lot of introspection, and I've realized that I have been a bit... A bit? Okay, fine. I've been too preachy and self-righteous with my advice to you and Kylie. I already spoke to her and apologized, but now I need to apologize to you. I'm sorry for everything. I shouldn't have given you all of that terrible advice. I realize the error of my ways now." Oh, Alice, that is great news. Obviously, I accept your apology. Please just make sure it doesn't happen again, as it can be quite disrespectful and annoying. Trust me, I won't. I actually think I like the idea of sitting back and watching just how you kids do it. Times are indeed changing, and I need to educate myself on all of those changes. Kylie was right, although it was hard to hear it at the time. I did need to hear all of that, especially from your friend Daria. I'll be sure to pass her your thanks. I was honestly glad to hear this change of heart. She even sounded happier and less judgmental on the phone. I finally felt like I was getting the mother-in-law I always wanted, and I couldn't be happier.